Number 3, not even Wicked. Number 4, Cole Palmer. Number 5, Everett Head. Love those top 5. Stack up Wicked, Desmond, now all of them. And for what they need for create shots, and just more shots, period.
As a shot in the arm. Exactly what we need. And I just think, I also would love a penny for Eze's thoughts, the Arsenal fan who thought he was coming home to Arsenal, who then thought he went to Spurs, and it just reminds me of the famous Angel Di Maria quote, "It hurts when you're always doing your best, and then you hear you might be going to Spurs." Well, I'm here to tell you, Everett, you're not going to Spurs. You're going to the Arsenal. And so let's get into it, Paul. Where does he play? What do you see as the role for Everett Eze, both in terms of what he thrives on, but specifically where he fits into this role? Where will he be?
Yeah, so I don't really know. I do find him a little confusing. I can understand why we were kind of will we, won't we. He's not an paint on his boots winger. You don't keep him wide left. He's kind of...
Maybe it's chalk, or did they use paint? Is it
chalk on the boots?
Chalk on the boots.
Look, you want that white line to stay there, or you won't have to lay down a new line every week.
That's a good point. If you do it with chalk, then you get one of those lines who does the celebration where they get on their hands and knees and try to support the line. Player, that's going to be fouled on. Okay, go ahead.
Back to my analysis here. So, like, I do think he's that tweeny player, like Trossard is, between the winger and the left eight. You don't leave him in the left eight spot. He's going to drift in and out between those two channels, which is bloody great if you have the right players around him. Gyökeres likes to peel left. Eze is really comfortable about kind of tearing up the map, moving around. I think they're going to have a lot of fun over on that side, moving, finding each other. So one of the really interesting things on this aforementioned athletic pod, which is really worth going back to, even if it hasn't quite got the Everett Eze news at that point, is it talking about counter-attacks and transitions and how that's really become a thing in the Premier League, also now even in the Bundesliga. I don't need to tell you you're into all of this stuff, but that's the thing now. And we don't have a lot of them, and Liverpool have loads, and it seems to be somewhat where the game has gone now, and we actually did pretty well in terms of scoring goals off counters or transitions last season. We just didn't have a lot of them. And so that's, I think, a huge part of where I see his value. Over and above, we have them pinned down. We don't want to have the semicircle problem, the kind of semicircle depth. Yes, he's going to help with that because he's dangerous, he takes risks, he's 1-on-1, he's unpredictable, he's got his head up, he's looking at combinations. That's one part of it. But I think the transition football, like what did we see against United? And like United, my pancake analogy, I'm all for throwing away the first pancake. That's the first pancake of the season. Sorry, Elliot. I'd absolutely throw that pancake to the dog. Let him have the pancake. I think that's a game you just don't analyze. I mean, if that's how we're playing in 3 games' time, Lordy, we're going to need help. But we're not going to be playing like that. But what you could see in that game was a whole bunch of transitions that we did nothing with. And I think as somebody finding Gyökeres, I think him, Odegaard, and Gyökeres on the transitions will be a sight to be seen and will terrify me if I really have to see it home. There's my
contribution. That is absolutely right. I mean, if you want to take anything away from the United game, Clive and I did a rewatch. We did the rewatch with an emphasis just on transition opportunities and the number of transition opportunities that did not result in the right ball being played, the right run being played. I think Everett Eze's, maybe one of his best skills is his brain. I think he is an incredibly intelligent footballer in the way he finds space and finds teammates. One of my favorite highlight clips of Eze from last season isn't a goal he scored. It's the little jumping back heel flick to Mateta in the box. And it's two things. It's the tech, but it's the knowledge. He's back there. I know where he is, and I can instinctively find him. I think it's going to change things for us. And by the way, we have breaking news to a podcast, which is rare, but we'll take it. in getting this deal done. They were prepared to let Eze play in the Conference League qualifier today for Crystal Palace. Right? Eze was going to play in that. So we thought we'd have to wait through that game. Cross our fingers. Breaking news, Evereche Eze will not play for Crystal Palace in tonight's Conference League
really?
clash, with move to Arsenal on the brink. That's the reporting. Whether it winds up being true or not, we'll see. But that's the breaking news, which means, by the way, the medical could happen. And he could be in the squad for Leeds. He could certainly be announced in time for the shirt sales on Saturday. I'm sure Arsenal don't want to miss out on that, but Spurs fans were prepared to let him play tonight. We were not prepared to let him play tonight because we are, and you can quote me on this, gargantuan. We are a big, big club. Phil, what about you? There is a collection of people. There's a group of people in the Arsenal fandom. Let's call them the Misery Crew. The Misery Crew. I love you, Misery Crew. You know who you are. It's okay. Don't actually think Eze is the right sign for Arsenal. They think it's great for vibes. They think it's funny. They think it's a good player. But they're not as sure he's the right sign. And I think the thesis of that argument is he's not a left winger, which is the area everyone agrees we need to upgrade. He is more of a 10, which we don't particularly use. And we kind of have a logjam there between Odegaard, Ethan, maybe Max in the future, Declan Rice, Kai Havertz when he's fit, Mikel Merino. It's not an area that's just screaming opportunity. And then, so the argument goes a little further to say it will still be Nani Madueke or Martinelli or Leo starting on the left. It'll be Eze for times when we need a little more attacking oomph in midfield, but it will still be Zubi, Odegaard, and Rice starting in midfield. I have a different perspective, which I'll give in a moment, but I'm curious what your perspective on that is and where you see Eze's role in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why there are reservations about this deal. It's quite expensive. We're definitely giving him a good wage, and he doesn't really fit into what we've known under Mikel Arteta, which is a 4-3-3 system with specific players playing specific roles. I mean, the left back usually inverts, the left leg crashes the box. We're quite right side heavy in terms of our play, which then isolates whoever we have on the left wing. It's all very carefully crafted, mechanical, and that's how we've done things. So I get it. But I just can't put myself in the headspace of where does he fit, where will he play. He's not really a 10, he's not really a left winger, because I don't care. I really don't care. I mean, obviously other factors come into this, but I've had to sit through 18 months or 2 years of analysis about how this Arsenal team is boring, how Arteta is suppressing his attacking talent, why the squad lacks individualism, mavericks, freestylers, to make a real difference in the final third. You know, guys who are willing to go off-piste, break the mould, and really help us when it comes to deep blocks especially, or mid-blocks. And I think he will play because he's good. He will play because he offers this current group qualities that they are lacking. And sometimes you've got to let yourselves feel. Eze is fun. Football is supposed to be fun. And I know we're at the highest level trying to win things.
Using the same old bank card to spend whilst abroad, you're probably being overcharged. With Wise, you could save up to 80% every time you tap compared to major bank cards. Other banks
to win things, which I agree with, but you can't complain about not having any mavericks in your team and then turn your nose up at one of the most exciting, entertaining players in the league. You know, I need to watch more of Madueke because maybe he can be someone like that for us, but I can confidently say right now we've got one of those players in our squad, and that's Ricardo Calafiori.
Mm-hmm.
I think our defensive shape and structure can accommodate one more player. I promise. We're not going to collapse. We're not going to concede 4 goals every game.
He works hard off the ball, too.
He did it in the scouting video that we did last year. We saw him tracking back, making interceptions on that left side. And this could age horribly, of course. But I feel like we're so informed about everything these days that we analyse every transfer, the microscopic details. We've got the stats, the physical data. We analyse how they performed previously. The heat maps come out. We're slaves to the green bars. All of that stuff is important. But you can allow yourself to get caught up in the romance of this story. Someone we let go at 13 who's had to work his way through the doldrums of English football to not only play for his country, but to sign for his club again 14 years later. I just think that's beautiful. It's really beautiful, and don't underestimate what that lift can give to the fans, because he's living our dream. You know, it's so mentally draining to be able to go again after 3 second place finishes with this time will be a much needed shot in the arm. Some of the malaise, I think that's been creeping into our collective psyche. It will give the group a huge lift as well because they're all mates, they want to succeed with each other. But more than anything, Eze is a player I love to watch. He makes me feel things, he makes others feel things, and sometimes in football you're allowed to feel. You know, and I just think, like the Aubameyang example you set earlier, there wasn't really a space for him in the squad. We had Giroud, at that moment we had Lacazette, who we signed 6 months earlier for a lot of money, but he's a top-class player. So when they become available, you sign them, and you figure out the rest afterwards. So I completely get the reservations, but we have enough structure and solidity in our squad to be able to accommodate someone who's a bit of a tweener, like Paul said, because it makes sense. I don't think he'll be playing on the left, I think he'll be playing from the left, you know. Space, he'll be drifting out wide, he'll be combining with people, he'll take shots from the edge of the box, where I think we've been pretty horrible over the last 2 years, to be honest. I think that the sort of the D on the edge of the opposition box is a black hole for us. So I just think he gives this squad a lot, you know, positionally versatile, carrying shots. I'm really excited. Like, this is a player I've loved for a long time, and you know, sometimes you just have to let yourself go and enjoy transfers, you know.
Yeah, Matt, I have some big thoughts on this football. You want to come back to the case of your own?
Yeah, I got a couple of quick TCs, right? The first one is,
Are you going to nail them to a church door?
yes, and
Martin Luther.
start a religion. Well, change a religion, not really start it.
Honestly, if there was a pod member who was going to start a religion, I think you would have gotten even odds that it would have been Paul above any of us. So this is very we've kind of expected that.
It would have been very, I mean, Clive is actually the natural one for everybody to follow. I was listening
You know
to
what?
you
Paul, he may have more acolytes, but I think you have the religion.
I have the better cult here. He's
Yeah.
the more natural follower. The only problem that is the cult followers for me will be very frustrated because I kept changing my mind about what the cult was about, what we were worshipping.
Let's
Not
just say
that
the
everybody.
chapel show this year, if you try to hand me a cup of Kool-Aid, I'm not drinking.
Yeah. Okay.
But carry on.
So my PC, two quick ones. We didn't plan to do this because it wasn't in the budget. Then we had a reason to rip up the budget. Because once this is seen, it can't be unseen, right? Like once you pick Eze in the starting lineup, you're like, oh, that's a lot of fun. And now every other starting lineup that it doesn't have Eze in it, everybody's going to go, oh, we don't have Eze in it. My bigger thesis is, Arteta was talking coming into the summer and over the summer about how the squad just isn't big enough for modern football. And we as supporters have been drilled into a starting 11 and a backup 11, a little bit of rotation. And maybe football is now finally changed, at least at Arsenal, where the point is to have so many players looking to get in the lineup that the manager has headaches every week and starts picking horses for courses, who he's feeling that week, who's fittest, and like all that's going to take care of itself because I mean I think it's pretty clear if you go back and listen to Ornstein's reporting and the reporting from Eze thought this probably wasn't going to happen or may well not have thought it was going to happen, and he was like, is Arsenal interested in me, is Arteta interested in me, and now he's made a choice between a club who would have started him every week. In fact, he could have picked any position on the pitch. I'd like to play right wing, sure Eze, you can play wherever you want, any spot in the pitch, to a club and a team that has lots of options in which he was not necessarily the guy we needed and have to go all out for, and he's going to have to compete for a spot, and yet he feels comfortable enough and confident enough that he's thinking, yeah, I'll nail down what's effectively starting position, and we can see it that now why weren't we all over this? I think it was outside of our budget business, and we just have to do it because Havertz, and you can't, having spent that money, you just spend the next bit of money, you can't wait till next week, you can't wait till January, it's got to be now. So I think that's the first part of it, and the second part of it is we shouldn't worry about where he plays because Phil's point, he's going to do really good things I think he can be the guy to dislodge on the left-hand side.
So there are moments you say something into a microphone and you could potentially look really silly for saying them, or it could wind up looking wrong. And this is going to be one of those moments because I'm going to give you my perspective on this, and it could look really stupid as soon as a couple of weeks. But a few things. The first thing I want to tell you is just how I view it. One is, I think Everett Eze is our second best attacking player in the squad the minute he pulls the shot. I think Kyle Sacker than Everett Eze. And that is not a knock on Martin Odegaard, who I regard as one of the best midfielders in the world in terms of what he can do between the thirds, moving the ball back in front, collecting the ball, work rate, pressing. But from an attacking standpoint, I don't think Martin Odegaard is quite at the level with his shooting or his creativity as Eze.
Back up your shoot and go.
Second right, one of the best players in the world. Full stop.
A
Again,
lot of
same
good
argument.
to know.
Victor Gyökeres I rate, but I don't rate him at this level in terms of the tactical finishing, creativity. Nani Madueke is an athlete, an elite athlete who uses powerful running to create openings. I think that's important, of course, but I don't rate him at this level. And then Leo, Martinelli. Again, back to my original point, Everett Eze in my mind is now the second best attacking player, the second best final third player we have. And we need that. And he's going to. So that's my first point. My second point is, I think people are overthinking this. Our weakest area is left wing, and he's going to play on that. Period. And he's going to start there and start there. We have no shortage of athletes. Not even Dwayne is a powerful athlete. But so is Bukayo Saka. Odegaard is athletic. Victor Gyökeres is athletic. Gabriel Martinelli is athletic. Declan Rice is an unparalleled athlete in terms of chewing up ground, running up and down the pitch. But we don't have the tech, as the kids say, that Eze has. We don't have an elegant dribble. Not even Dwayne is a power dribble. We have these powerful dribblers. Even Martinelli, right, where their thing is they work hard at you. Saka is different. He'll slow you down. He'll make you think. He's elegant. He thinks through how he's going to beat you. Explain to me why Eze isn't Saka. And I don't mean the same level. Saka's at a different level than anything. But why can't he play from the left the way Saka plays from right? Saka starts with left wing back, for goodness sake. People that think Saka might be better as an interior. Saka's not, in my mind, the profile of a natural true winger. He's just fantastic out there. And Eze can do what Leo has done for us on the left, but at a higher level than Leo could ever do it. And by the way, I rate Leo very highly. I just don't see any kind of issue here at all. Calafiori plays everywhere. Declan Rice was raised as a central defender who now plays 8 points. Right? Miles was scouted as a midfielder who plays left back. Ethan Waneri was fantastic at right wing, having been a midfielder at his academy level. This idea that talented, intelligent players can't just slide one half space over and start their move from that half space over has been totally undermined by what we've done both with Saka and with Leo Trossard. So for me, Phil, a player who can create shots at an elite level, start defender, has the intelligence with his running and his transition creativity, and has a brilliant shot on him, just because he's got to stand 3 yards further left and start a move, I don't see why that's a problem. And even if Nani Madueke is fantastic, which he could be, there'll be room for him to play. But for me, this is a player whose talent demands being on the pitch, and I don't see why that can't be at left.
I agree. I think he could comfortably play on the left for us, and also one of our biggest issues with Arteta and this system is that players are too fixed to their roles, too fixed to their zones, too fixed to their areas. So why do we have an issue now when we have someone who's willing to come in and combine, away from there? I know typically if you have a winger of this style on the left, you have an overlapping winger, more like a Kieran Tierney or Bruno Tavares who can go beyond him. But it doesn't need to be that. He's just a good player who does good work in attacking areas. And we need to be more comfortable having good players. You know, even now it's like, you're going to start the development of Ethan. What about Max? Where does this person play? What about Martinelli and Trossard? Honestly, I don't care. I really, really don't care. The way I see it, the more good players we have, the better we will be. And it's up to them to fight for the shirt and who's going to start the weekend. And the manager will know that, the manager will see that. And what we really need in particular is, first of all, more shots, which you alluded to earlier, which he brings. There is a nuance to his game in terms of how he slows down, speeds up, where he likes to travel with the ball. I don't think he's a Martinelli stretcher, for example, but he can easily go behind. Palace play counter-attacking football. How often do you see him running beyond Mateta with Ismail Assar on the other side, even Munoz going down the right. This is something that he knows how to do. So if we do need to stretch the play, he's more than comfortable doing it. It doesn't need to be a Nico Williams rapid winger for us to be able to do that. It's more about timing, how you cover ground, where you run. Because I think if you looked at the rewatch, a lot of our running once we were in transition was really bad in terms of providing an option for the person on the ball. So it's just another attacking option that we've needed. And regardless of whether Havertz was injured or not, most people, if you asked most people, they would have said, can we do one more? Can we do one more? Whether it's a true winger, a two-sided winger, a wide forward that could play at centre forward, we needed something else. It just so happens we've done the groundwork on Eze. We signed Eze now, and I think he won't have any issues settling into this team. Good players find a way, and you find a way to fit good players in, and that's just how I see it. I really can't put my head in that space where you're doubting the deal. You know, and I realise this could look very stupid, but it's just how I'm choosing to see it.
He's been one of the best players in the Premier League for a few seasons. And a couple of those seasons I get were with Olise, and you could say, you know, well, I wasn't as influential without Olise. Well, first of all, yeah, you're not going to be as influential when you don't have as good players around you, but he's pretty influential in their run to an FA Cup. He did the thing that star players do. He won them that. He really did. His goals and goal involvements on their run to the FA Cup won them an FA Cup. He's now going to be playing with the best collection of players he's ever played with. So, you know, this is going to be a really exciting moment. I think we should nail some more colors to the mast. The mast is going to be full of colors. And then we do need to get onto the Kai stuff and leads and some stuff like that. But, Paul, I'm just going to ask you. I want you to predict his Premier League starts, his Premier League goals, and his Premier League... Sorry, not goals. His Premier League starts and his Premier League goals plus assists.
Destination really wanna be.
The numbers aren't going to add up here. I got everybody playing all the games. I would say he's going to have like 23 starts. Seems high. And yes, I think one scene he won't be on to. Goals.
Goals and assists. You can just do goals and assists.
Goals and assists.
So you said 23 starts, huh?
Yeah. 17, 18. 18. I'm going to go with 18.
18 goals and assists. That would be... I think we'd probably take that. Bill, what about you? Starts, goals and assists.
I'm going to go 25 starts and 15 goals and assists.
Okay. I will say, and obviously all this is fitness dependent, I will say 30 starts and 21 goals and assists. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Once I tell you I think he's our second best attacking player, I think he's our second best attacking player, and I don't know why you leave that guy on the bench. The other thing I will say is, too, there may be starts where you say, Odegaard's off, or Odegaard's injured, and Rice moves right, and Odegaard, and Eze plays left 8. You know, there may be games where Odegaard's just not having a great game, and you bring on from the left 8, and you bring on well. I mean, there may be games where we finish a game with Saka, Gyökeres, Nani, Odegaard, and Eze. There's a lot of really exciting
It's a good point. It's a good point about Odegaard because he essentially has the creative verb. With Bukayo Saka, he is the creative guy in our team. So not only are we helping him by supplementing him with another creative player, but we're also giving him a chance to sit down occasionally. Why not at home against the relegation battling team? Can we play with them? Can we not do a 4-1-4-1? And put Zubimendi or Rice as the holder and just let all of the attacking guys score? We don't need to be wedded to this 4-3-3 all the time. We don't always need a box crusher. We can mix things up. And think of the Man City teams that sort of destroyed us over the past few years. They had a midfield three of Gundogan, De Bruyne, and Bernardo Silva. Would you class that as a traditional midfield three in England? But they're all really good players, so they won games. Yep. So I don't know. I think we just need to open our minds a little bit.
There is one rule I believe more than anything else in football, and that is that by and large, best talent wins the most games, and this is one of the elite talents
That's a
in the
nation
Premier League.
really
So
wanna be.
I want to get a rating of the.
Step right up to the fire line. To the highest place you know. Doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Window from you guys too, a little bit on the owner's backing, and
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
then we've got to talk about the Kai injury. But I do feel a little bit of a sense of responsibility to the listener who now has no. Is the hat you're leaving based on outgoings that never materialized, or is it more that you still think there's an incoming that could have been more what we need? Like what's the hat being done?
I have higher standards than you, Elliot. I'm not going to 10.
I think that would be hard not to have.
Yep. I'm not by the way, I'm not rating our outgoing. That'll be a whole other score.
Yeah.
We don't really have any. So.
No. We've got 3 million.
Oh, very good. So we're done everywhere
on the way.
Warm up the plane for it, we got some money. We can get the plane halfway there, and then we run out of that money on the fuel. That's what we get to the runway.
with that, yeah. So yeah, 9.5 window, 9.5 from the backing of the club. Probably close to 10 actually, in terms of how the club has like any more than this, and I'd be like a bit worried about what's going on there. So fair play to them recently. Don't get me wrong, I've still got the pitchfork and the placard ready to go when they turn on us. But last few years, you can't really fault their willingness to go big on the players. It is interesting that there's like this 4-year cycle in a lot of things, economics. We have a 4-year market here, a 4-year cycle here where we bought 6 players 4 years ago. We bought 6 players already with that one of them was back in those people. No offense meant. Those are important at all, but they're not quite a 6 players who are going to play a lot. This is 4 years later. It feels technical that we've gone big again. This is the next big wave. Clearly, we already know it's a win this season type approach. They've gone big, and when we had a blip with Havertz, they did not hesitate, and suddenly they went big and spent 67.5 million or something here with add-ons, and went for it. So what can you say? And there's the players and there's the vibe, and they managed to leverage the vibe
pod with Tim just yesterday before any of this news broke, and I said, the dooming around this window, we're calling it a 2 out of 10 because we've left one position slightly underpowered. How ridiculous. You know, any way you look at it,
I didn't care which striker we bought as long as we had one identified as the right target. So we got Mascara, Kappa, Zubi, Jokeres, not even Dwayne, right? Important players across the board, Norgard. We filled 2 important midfield spots, one with a midfielder who was sought after by every big club in the world, the most prolific striker in all. We got a winger who probably Chelsea's best wide player last season, cover back and play off the left where we needed to strengthen. We got one of the brightest backup defenders in Europe, in my mind, in Mascara, while Liverpool are looking at huge money acquisition to try to prize DayZ away from Palace, which now may be harder because Palace is going to have a lot more money in their pocket and maybe less inclined to sell. You know, we've left ourselves in very few holes, but the one hole was a little more creative, a little more goal scoring, so with that Joker in the back. Now we have that, oh, by the way, it's the vibe twister of all vibes for a player we all wanted. To me, it's 10 out of 10. If you don't see it that way, maybe that's because no regard as they have the left wing. I do, so that would do it, but still, I have it as a 10 out of 10. All the areas that need addressed is addressed with the one cherry on top, which is the player I've most wanted from the league over several years. So to me personally, I love it. I think it is also, the call point, an astonishing backing by the owners, because I don't for a minute think KSC sit around obsessing about whether Arsenal wins trophies. They like to be competitive, sure, but they don't buy these teams for that purpose. And if you look around the league and look at some of the sales our rivals are doing, there's just been better business done by our rivals in terms of their ability to generate cash from player trading. We have not done it. So we have not moved the area. We have not moved Daniel yet. We have not moved Kivior yet. We have not moved Zinchenko yet. We have not moved Martinelli or Leo, and in fact given Leo more money. And now we're going with our hands out saying we need £68 million for Everett as a leader right now. We need a lot of the money up front. And they said, okay, here's it. It's not who are you going to sell or how are you going to execute on getting money. So look, nobody likes to hear the hooray, the billionaires spent a little money. I'm not trying to lionize them. I'm simply saying they would have probably been within their right to say, nah, I don't think we balanced the books appropriately. There's been a lot of reporting saying they want Arsenal to run more efficiently, right, more self-sustainably. And this summer does not seem to indicate that. So, again, so we're clear, I'm not celebrating people who have limitless money investing, but I'm saying they didn't have to. And we've been fortunate that they have in light of the lack of outcomes. So, 10 out of 10 for me, and I think at least a slight, let's call it a attaboy to ownership for letting us go for this one last big move. What about you?
I'm going to go 9. I think for me a true 10 would have been an elite centre forward, and that would have been Alexander Isak. Interesting. And that's no slight on Victor Jokeres. I'm very happy with him and that we got for him and that we were decisive in doing that. But a 10 out of 10 is like faultless, right? And I don't think it's faultless. So
can I stop you for a question though? Just ask you a question about that.
Yeah.
Would you have been comfortable if we were sitting here currently with no striker trying to get Isak done? Like, do you regard the risk-reward profile of going for Isak and maybe missing and not getting what you need worth it? Or do you think it would have been too big? Or set the money aside, because you could argue if we got Isak, we could not have done all the other deals. Set that aside, just the risk-reward profile. Would you regard the risk of not getting a striker worth it to try to make Isak possible? Or do you think it was correct to go for what was doable and have all of this stuff done? Which approach would you have preferred?
If there was a way to get Isak into the club, I would have tried to get him in. But I don't have any issue with what we've done now, which is basically creating more danger, more goals, more carries, more speed. I think we've done that really well. I like the profiles we've brought in. But if there was any way to have signed Isak, I would have liked Arsenal to explore that, and if they could bring him in, I think I can't say all that stuff about Eze and good players being comfortable with good players and all of that stuff, and then not want to go for Isak. So that would have made it a 10 for me.
context of the order of operations and how it would have had to happen. So,
Can I ask a question? What score would we have given it without evidence?
I literally recorded a pod yesterday morning where I said this, so I can't change my opinion. Now, I would have given it a 7 out of 10 because I would have said it's all the key areas of need addressed, and I think addressed pretty effectively without the one nagging area of need, that one nagging issue, right? That extra drip of creativity, that extra left-wing dynamism, that extra attacking midfield creative player is not in there, and that could hold us back. And the irony, of course, with Eze is, as I would say, I think we can fill the left-wing position and also be the attacking midfielder that we sometimes need but don't have. So, yeah, I had this at 7 out of 10. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, probably a 7, but kind of a 7 minus, because while you say nagging, it's almost glaring.
Fair, yeah.
Something needs
So maybe
to be
6
done on the left. Like, I kind of think, what would the opponents, what would a good opponent, what would PSG think about our lineup when we come up against them? They'd be like, world-class goalkeeper, world-class defense, world-class midfield, world-class right, top-level striker. Oh, we'll be okay on the left-hand side. That we can handle.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? I think PSG are a great example because their Ballon d'Or winning star player is their striker who's never been a striker until they played him as a striker. I just think positions are fungible if you're smart and if you're talented. Ousmane Dembele is not a striker, but it turns out, oh yeah, he is a striker. The other thing was, you know, if you look at some of the best teams in the world, like PSG, they don't have a dime-dropping 10. That's not what their midfield does, right? They let that creative influence come from other areas and the intelligence of their forward players. So I think there's a lot of ways to skin this cat. Phil, I think we should move on from this. So you've gone 9. I'm fine with that. I think that's good. We can move on from that. Let's talk about the negative news from yesterday. The Kai Havertz injury. I think there's a number of angles that this needs to be addressed from. The most obvious of which is just, first of all, the news. He has some kind of knee injury. We don't know exactly what. I have heard from the people that tell me stuff on WhatsApp and in DMs that could be around a 12-weeker, right? 3 months. So you're looking at September, October, November. Back early December-ish time frame. Not good, but not as bad as some of the rumors, which are ACL, and that's the end of the season, right? I've not seen Arsenal be good. I've not seen Arsenal be great at any point in the last season when Kai Havertz. So whatever your evaluation of the player, a great Arsenal the last couple of seasons has involved Kai Havertz. And we just so happen to have a new striker, and maybe that will be fine. We will miss Kai. There's no construction of this where we don't miss Kai. But Phil, I'm curious, in light of what we have at our disposal now, how you regard the significance of this injury and what we might do into that.
Yeah, it's bad news for Havertz, first of all, having worked so hard to get fit over the summer, consuming his body weight in creatine on a daily basis. But it's also bad news for us, because, like you said, regardless of what you think of him, we have played some of our best football under Arteta with Havertz leading the line, or even in midfield on occasion. And if we have genuine hopes of competing for the league and for the Champions League, we need him available. And obviously we're still in the dark about how serious the injury is, so I'm not going to go too doom and gloom without the relevant information. But even if it's not that serious for any injury, we'll still miss him, because I like the fact that we had both him and Gyökeres to suit different days and game states. You know, we've seen how the both of them play differently. We can play differently with them. We can play with both of them. So it gives us options, gives us a bit of variety, and now one of those options is gone. So from a Havertz perspective, it's really awful, and I feel sorry for him, because it's just not what you need at the start of the year, especially when you spent the last 4 months coming back from an injury or having surgery. I do think it's a good thing maybe for Gyökeres now to feel like he's the guy. And I think Tim made the point, you made the point yesterday in the Patreon pod, there might have been a lengthening of his transition period, and that he would play some games, sit on the bench for others, come on for half an hour in some games, get some cup appearances as well. But now we don't really have that luxury. So he needs to learn, and he needs to adapt, and quickly. And I think for him, that's the best possible thing, because he'll be playing the game.
that we need to learn to play with him. We need to know how to platform him. You can see it happening slowly. You know, I don't think we're the best team in transition by any means. I think you can see that in some of our layover things when it comes to our Old Trafford. It's really, really bad in terms of final ball execution, things like that. But we are looking more open to not having to play 100 passes before we shoot, which is so. It's really bad. I'm a fan of Kai Havertz. I think he gives us a lot, but we do need to play without him for a little while. We're just going to have to put our sleeves up, learn how to play with Gyökeres. I think it's a really good thing for him that he has that freedom and the ability to play and make mistakes without someone breathing down his neck. I think Mikel Merino can play there if needed. Even Leandro Trossard can play there if needed. Mikel has spoken about Ethan playing there. So we have options, and it's why I'm glad that we didn't go for a centre forward to replace Havertz, because we would have just had too many options once he came back to fitness. So I think it was the right thing to do to get someone a bit more, either a bit more typical wide player or another 10 player, which we did with DayZ. So yeah, it's a shame, but I think there are silver linings we can take from it, and as long as we can supplement some goals and assists in other ways, we should be able to get by without him, although I'd much rather have him in the team, obviously. Yeah, so first thing first, we just said how important Kai is, so please don't take this as undermining the team. We signed a proper striker. If you have any belief that we signed the right guy, him playing a lot now, you just said this, is great. It's not great that Kai is injured. It's great that our new striker plays a lot and our team learns to play. Because I do think, as good as Kai has been, Kai is a tweener player, and I think he can lead the line, and I think he can do really good things from there. But in terms of doing some running and doing some goal scoring in ways that we have not been able to do in the past, Gyökeres can do it too. And, God forbid, if we do need someone who just stands there stiff as a board, but can get the ball in the back and bounce passes to people, we've still got Mikel Merino on the team. Leo Trossard's also a false nine, so we've got some options. It's not good at all. I do think Gyökeres knowing the position is his for a while just means he can concentrate on playing his football. He's Arsenal striker for the next 3 months at least. And by that time, look, we bought a 27-year-old. You don't get a season to bet in. You got these 3 months now. Go prove that the position's yours, and I hope that's what we do. By the way, I think the hardest thing for me with this news is just the bad vibes from last season coming flooding back, right? The one thing we all thought is, just give us a little injury luck and we can maybe do this thing. Just give us a little injury luck. And so to get something this bad this early, just felt like, it's like that movie, The Perfect Storm, where they think they're going to get out of it, and then he looks up at the sky and says, it's not going to let us out. And that's how I feel a little bit. Like, is Mikel going to get the luck? Is his team going to get the luck where it can at least go show whether it's good enough? And this felt so bad from that standpoint, so hopefully it's not the worst case news. I will say, by the way, Liverpool suffering some injury news of their own. It looks like Jeremy Frimpong is out for a month, so he will not play against us in our game at Anfield, for better or for worse. Paul, your take on the Kai injury, the knock-on effect for Gyökeres, and anything else about it that strikes you?
Yeah, look, the positives would be there's maybe a little more clarity in terms of who will be leading the line and what we need to lean into, and in practice they're going to know what plan A is. So that's part of it. It makes life a little simpler for Gyökeres coming into the club and kind of settling into the role, and everybody knowing what the plan is week in, week out. The other positive is, maybe I'm reading it wrong. It's 12 weeks, you say. We're looking at 12 weeks, and I'm looking at the international interlude calendar. We have 6 weeks of interludes, if I'm reading it right. Bill, you can correct me, but September 1 to 9, October 6 to 14, November 10 to 18. We might have the best part of 6 of 12 weeks being interludes, and or at least a very, very good chunk of that. So, in a way, he's missing 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, with our hard start, obviously, like, you wouldn't want to go into battle against City and Liverpool and Newcastle without
You would not,
Kai.
and you'd want him off the bench. Don't get me wrong, but 12 weeks, if I've got it right, 12 weeks could collapse to 6 weeks in terms of footballing time. But yeah, of course we want him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think it's again, not a positive, but do you think it's a chance for Gyökeres ideal of playing in this league week in, week out, and leading the line for Arsenal in some instances every 3 days, or do you think it's important that we not overburden?
No, I think like this is he'd be licking his lips that it's clear that we know what we're training for during the week between games. Everybody knows the plan. You know, there will be movable pieces with DayZ or whoever on the left, or with our options in midfield, but they all know.
I realised I didn't always need the latest.
How many nails for a wall? So many nails. $72. So I've gone up for free. So probably have got enough then. 36. Maybe I've got enough.
I realised I didn't always need the latest mobile phone model, so I opted for a smarter choice.
All know, like, it all comes to a point, and you kind of need to know what that point is. I mean, City don't alternate Haaland and not Haaland. That's two very different ways of playing. And I do notice here that Odegaard plays with Haaland in the Norwegian team, so he's quite used to finding a striker, a Scandinavian striker. So now that everybody has a map as to what you're...
Got the shoes and phone. Run. Pack up your shoes and go. Do 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 do.
Getting the ball to the striker. It's very simple.
Really good.